At the beginning of the film, we are shown a couple who had a baby a few days ago, but for some reason, both were worried and scared and were breaking all the mirrors of their house. The mother of the child puts her child in the swing and goes out for some work. After this, we see a strange scene. A baby monster comes out of the swing that puts a slight cut on the child's spine, due to which his blood starts coming out. On the other hand, when the child's father goes to break the last glass, he couldn't because a witch comes out and ends him. When the child's mother comes back, she gets scared to see that her child is also dead. His body was blue, which looked like he had been dead for a long time. Now the witch disappears as she came suddenly and it was difficult to understand. Anyway, after a while, we see a couple again, who also had a child a while ago. The name of the woman in them was Rachel and they come to live in a new place. They were just keeping their luggage that at this time a parcel comes for them. This was sent by Rachel's mother having some boxes and toys, which were of Rachel's sister and her daughter. Rachel's sister was no one else but the same woman we saw at the beginning, and everything happened to her daughter and husband means the witch and the baby monster killed them. Now we know what happened to them, but why? We will get the answer to this question later in the story. Rachel is not happy to see the stuff, thinking that my mother sent old stuff for my child and the toy of that child, who is dead, on which her husband says that what happened to your sister was an accident. Now it would be better if we do not make those things a delusion. There was also a book in these things, in which some lines were written in another language. There were some pictures and a tune was also made. Now Rachel did not understand this language, but her husband knew a little. That's why he checks the book and tells these lines and tunes are lullabies, a lullaby. Now Rachel starts humming it, but because of a call, she becomes quiet and shuts the book. A few days pass and their child always cries like the rest of the children and does not sleep. That's why both were worried, not only worried but tired, thinking that it is not easy to raise children. Both were taking leave from their work and taking care of their child. Now Rachel was a businesswoman while her husband was an artist. Today he has an art exhibition, it was being displayed, that's why her husband goes to work. Rachel takes care of him alone. She tries to calm him down by making him quiet, but he does not sleep. Then when she was taking out the bedsheet for him, she gets the same book in which that lullaby was written. Now as Rachel hums it, her child goes to sleep very comfortably, but at the same time, we see cracks on a glass of the house, which was strange. When her husband returns from work at night, Rachel tells him that I sang a lullaby to baby and he slept very comfortably. With which he too becomes happy. After this, the two of them go to sleep, with whom the baby screen was kept, which was in their child's room, where suddenly a witch comes out of the swing and starts coming to her. Rachel feels that there is someone in the child's room, so she immediately goes to his room, but there is no one there. The door of the closet was open. After checking it, there is nothing inside it. When Rachel looks at the baby screen, she thinks that maybe it is broken, so she throws it in the trash. When she was coming out, she feels movement everywhere. She checks the whole house, but she does not get anything, and then when she was looking at herself in the mirror, we can also see the witch behind her spying on her, but Rachel does not see her. In addition to this, there are more cracks on that broken glass. When her husband was bathing, Rachel comes to him, but still he sees the same witch in the mirror, which scares him a lot and he pushes her aside. Rachel was upset about this. After this, she goes to get a new baby screen, where she suddenly sees darkness. Along with that, the witch who was scaring her, Rachel gets scared to see her, means that there must have been some strange things in their house, which are not only happening at home, but also happening outside. Now the witch was keeping an eye on Rachel and her child from inside the mirror, and the cracks were also increasing on her. Now Rachel hears her crying from her child's room, but surprisingly, she was with her, that's why she goes to check her room, where another child was crying in the swing. As she removes the blanket, there was no child there but a toy. She was scared of all these things, and the doors around were also opening and closing on their own. So she goes out of the house and sits down. When her husband comes home, she also tells him that I am scared, maybe there is someone inside the house. So now he goes inside with a rod and starts checking, but he also does not see anyone there. But in a hurry, his parrot comes out of its cage and starts flying there. And by mistake he kills the parrot. Now this parrot was with him since childhood, so he was sad. That's when Rachel comes and takes care of him and says that maybe it's my fault in all this. I'm going crazy like my sister right now. On which he explains to her that you are not at fault in this. Your sister had gone completely crazy, who had covered her child's body for weeks. You are not like her at all, so don't worry. Now she tells that I see a woman like a witch who scares me. On it, her husband shows a woman to Rachel in the same book and asks, is this the same woman? Because I also saw THS when I was bathing and this woman in the book was no one else but the same witch. So they both come in a lot of tension, but somehow they decide to take care of themselves, that whatever it is, we will handle it together. And together we will finish it. Now at night Rachel's husband hears the sound of his child crying from outside while he was sleeping with them. So he wakes up in his sleep and goes to calm his child and comes out of the house to the place where they had thrown the book. Actually, the sound of crying was coming from this book which wanted to call them to it. And now her husband comes back with the book. When Rachel was sleeping in the morning, she also had her child, which suddenly disappears. The child's voice was coming from inside the sheet. That's why she starts looking for her child inside, where she finds her child, but dead. She was scared, while in fact, her child was absolutely fine. Seeing it, she becomes fine. The next day her husband takes his child and leaves, because today Rachel had to go for some important work. Rachel's husband now goes to a church where he meets a priest. While on the other side, we see Rachel going to a mental hospital where her sister was. Rachel's husband tells everything to the priest about what he had to face, and he asks about an exorcist who is an expert in controlling ghosts so that he can get some help. Hearing all this, the priest tells him that this is exactly what Rachel's sister had come to ask, and now she starts telling him about it by looking at the book. There Rachel also tells everything to her sister. Hearing this, she says, "Did you sing that lullaby?" To which Rachel answers yes. Hearing this, her sister gets scared and says that I had locked all that stuff so that no one can get it, but it has come to you. You have also sung the lullaby, so now it will be very bad. Now Rachel's sister and the priest start telling about that book, the story of the witch, and the lullaby will come to light. Now as we know that before the world was created, God had first created Adam and Eve, but many people say that before them God had created a woman whose name was Lilith, who was very beautiful, and Adam made a special kind of lullaby hearing which Lilith always used to come to him. Lilith wanted to live with him, but because of Eve, she did not want to live with him, and because of this mistake of Lilith, she was taken out of that place and left in the forest. After which she wandered in the forest and the wolves started living with the wolves. After it, she gave birth to a deformed child that did not look human in any way. She was not normal because she was just a little human, the rest was like a wolf. When the children of Adam and Eve were born now, because they were human and beautiful, Lilith was jealous of their children. That's why she started stealing their children. After it, it goes on generation after generation, and in this generation, there was no special kind of child, but there were children of the entire human generation who were born from Adam and Eve. Because of this, Adam prayed to God and threw her in the forest. Now as far as lullaby is concerned, so this word came to say from Lilith. It means that it was such a lullaby that kept the children away from Lilith. By singing a normal lullaby, the mother saved their children from Lilith, but because she was clever. That's why she played a trick here. She picked up Adam's special lullaby and made some changes in it. By reading it, she will wake up again. She will come back, and this is the reason she is still successful to take kids, because of this lullaby when someone sings it. Her sister says, "I can save your child, just get me out of here," and for this, Rachel agrees. There Rachel's husband asks for help from that priest, on which she says these are just stories. It's a false story, it's not true, so I will not be able to help you, and you also relax, but her husband leaves being furious. Reaching home, he finds all the tabs of the bathroom were open and water was flowing from them. He leaves his child in the room and goes to the washroom to close them, but the door suddenly shut. His baby was alone. Meanwhile, the baby monster comes to him, who was Lilith's baby, and at the beginning, the baby monster we saw near the swing who had cut the baby's head was also Lilith's child. Because he too didn't like human babies, and he breaks a glass vessel in front of Rachel's child, due to which a lot of glass shatters in front of the child and he could get hurt at any time. On the other hand, Rachel's husband sees a glimpse of Lilith in the bathroom. The child was about to injure his hand with a piece of glass. That's when Rachel comes here and stops him from doing so. Her sister was also with her. As he sees her, her husband asks, "Why did you bring her here?" To which she said that she can help us, but because he thought she was crazy, he didn't like this thing. Rachel's sister says that Lilith first took my child and then she killed my husband too. So now we have to save your child. Keep an eye on her all the time and keep the glass covered, and whenever we see Lilith, we run away from there immediately. Because she keeps an eye on him through the glass and keeps coming from there. Because that is her way to come here from her world. A man comes to Rachel's husband's house who tells him that I am a senior priest. I have received your book, and the priest you had gone to, she has told me that you need help. So come immediately to the address of the house you have told, and he does the same and leaves for that house immediately. Now Rachel and her sister were taking care of the child at home. When Rachel tells her that I don't think I can be a good mother. After hearing this, her sister tells her not to think like that. All this is written in your mind by Lilith. This is her plan. Because by doing this, she wants to break your trust. After which she will easily take your child, so that's why you have to be brave and have faith. Rachel's husband reaches the address and meets the senior priest, who checks the book and tells him that someone has sung the lullaby written in it. To which he says that yes, my wife Rachel had sung. In response to which the priest says that's why now your child is in the sight of Lilith. So first of all you have to save your child from Lilith, and yes, she does not directly come and take the child. She does not kill him. In fact, her process is like a ritual magic. By completing it, she can reach the child. There are 3 steps in this ritual. As it is completed, the door of this world opens and she comes. The first step was to sing that lullaby. Then the second is to shed the blood of an animal, a bird in the house. On which Rachel's husband immediately says that yes, my parrot had shed blood, it is dead. Which meant that now the last third step is left to complete the ritual, and that is to shed a drop of her child's blood. When this happens, Lilith will come to take him. Means Lilith was able to take the child who was cut because of his bloodshed, and no one else does all this, but Lilith's children do it. They also broke the glass vessel in front of Rachel's child so that as his blood flows and the ritual is completed, Lilith comes and takes him. Now the priest gives him some special kind of candles and a prayer. He also says that you have to read this prayer with full faith, because Lilith is very powerful, but not in front of faith. After that, her husband leaves from there while the priest take his book with him, because this book is dangerous for the world. Their Lilith's child was coming to Rachel's child to put a slight cut on it, but then Rachel's eyes were opened. So she picks up the child in her lap. Now Rachel's sister comes to her. She says, "You take some rest till then I take care of it," but here we do not like her sister's intentions. Because she removes the cloth from the glass, which she should not have done. She also pricks the needle to the child from which his blood comes out. After which she starts singing lullaby. Rachel is very surprised to hear this and asks her, "Why are you doing this?" On which her sister says that my child is still alive, which is with Lilith in the other world, and I want to bring him back. When Lilith will come, she will take your child and she will return my child to me, and yes, I had sent that book to you. Since your child was born, I was waiting for this time. From which it was clear that her sister had become her enemy. This was also a jealousy. She was very angry to see this form of her sister, that's why she attacks her. They were fighting. In the meantime, Lilith comes and takes Rachel's child with her. After which her sister comes behind Rachel. She pulls it in the bottle and takes it, which actually brought her to the world of Lilith. When her husband was coming home, Lilith also attacks him, but he gets saved somehow. When he comes inside, he sees Rachel in the mirror, who disappears the next moment. That's why she burns all the candles and starts checking all the mirrors in the world of Lilith. Her daughter attacks Rachel, but she gets saved from him. When her sister comes to her and says, "Call your daughter," with full confidence, because by doing this we will be able to find her and we will be able to save both kids. Now as Rachel takes the name of her child, she also starts hearing his voice, whom she starts following. Lilith then comes to attack Rachel's husband, and she also extinguishes those candles, but when he starts praying with full confidence, those candles get extinguished again, because of which Lilith goes away from there. There Rachel goes to a room where she also finds her child, but then Lilith comes and attacks her while snatching her child. Her sister had also come, who attacks Lilith and takes the child and gives it to Rachel. She asks her to run away from here and she starts stopping Lilith, but Lilith also kills her. When Rachel was running away, all the mirrors start breaking, but to save herself Rachel starts running even faster. Here her husband's voice of prayer was helping her, and now before this the mirror of her house also breaks. She already crosses it and comes back. Now Lilith also starts coming out of the mirror to attack her, but now both of them together start repeating the prayer and stop her from coming to this world. After this, it seems that everything was calm, everything was fine, but this did not happen because Rachel's sister had changed her child to her child. Which means the child that Rachel had saved was not hers, but it was of her sister, and when she checks the child, it was really her sister's baby, while her own child was still with her in Lilith's world. That makes her sad. Here, her sister's goal was fulfilled because she just wanted to save her child, but she had really gone mad. No doubt she was a mother, but she did not keep this in mind, that her sister is also a mother of a child. After this, we see that Rachel's husband steals that book and brings it to Rachel. Because now they want to bring back their child back and wanted to go to Lilith's world, but now they will face not only Lilith, but someone else too. A new witch to be made, no one else but Rachel's sister. Now she is Rachel's child, which meant that now things are going to be worse than before and dangerous as well. This is the terrible ending of the story.